All right, Mark Rogers TV going to the Big 12 to sort through more positional units. We go to Dallas-Fort Worth and TCU with Melissa Triebwasser. It's been a long time, Melissa. Melissa joins us from Frog to War. Melissa was at one point just a pillar of Mark Rogers TV, and it's tough to track her down these days. She's got like more going on than like 8 people combined. But Melissa, we appreciate you running home, jumping online to break down some quarterback play.
I am happy to be here, and hopefully this will be the first of many on my comeback trail to Mark Rogers TV.
Oh, man, you predicted the comeback trail. I'm going to
don't call it a comeback. Don't call it a comeback.
That's good stuff. So Kenny Hill obviously had his ups and downs last year, and I think that's been his MO since he came onto the scene at Texas A&M. He can just look amazing. He's got all the athletic ability. He eludes the pocket. He threatens the defense running as well. 17 TDs, 13 picks. He ran for 10 touchdowns, but at times the throwing arm plenty strong enough, but sometimes a little erratic. So can you kind of assess where he stands and your take on his 2016?
I mean, the hard part with Kenny Hill is that, we keep saying, well, when's he going to be the guy that we thought he was? When's he going to be the guy that was that USC, breakout 550-yard performance or whatever? And at this point, going into a senior year, I don't know that Kenny Hill is anything but what we've seen. He's proven that he's capable of putting together a 500-yard game where he throws for 3 touchdowns and runs for another and picks up 80 yards on the ground. And he's also shown that he's capable of missing 5-yard out routes and bouncing the ball and way overthrowing his receivers and, looking tentative in the pocket and tentative when it comes to running as well. And so I think Kenny is who we thought he was, which is a incredibly gifted athlete who maybe needs to spend a little bit more time in the playbook, who doesn't have a great feel for the position, but has the ability to shine in spots because he is just such a physically gifted person. I don't think a lot of TCU fans feel super confident about the situation going into spring ball or into next fall. If he is the guy behind center, we know that he can do great things, but he's just shown that he's not accurate enough over the course of a season and that it's too easy to take away his top option routes. And when he has to read a defense, he struggles to make the right decision. So we'll see with Sonny Cumbie taking over play calling duties and Doug Meacham off to Kansas if this becomes the more run-heavy offense that we all kind of hope it does. If so, I think Kenny Hill can be very successful for TCU. But if he's asked to throw the ball 50 times a game, we could be in for another really long season.
So, Melissa, if you do continue on the comeback trail, we'll hit the other positions later, so you don't need to break them down necessarily. But do you think it's the type of offense, you alluded to the scheme, but in regards to the personnel around him that can really help him out, are you going to have the running game, the potential for the running game that you need to support him?
Yeah, I think that the offensive line, it would be hard for them to be much worse this year. They showed some things at spots when they were healthy, they were good, not necessarily great, but consistent. There are a lot of injuries and a lot of shuffling around and a lot of penalties really hurt that unit. But there's a couple guys coming in with the JUCO route, found a couple players, guys that can step in right away, where I think that can be a position of strength. And the running game should be exceptional with Kyle Hicks back. Darius Anderson is a sophomore. Shewu Olanualuna, I think, didn't get a lot of reps last year, but is the kind of back that you can build a team around. The TCU running game should be solid. And then the wide receiver unit should be spectacular. Like you said, we'll touch in more detail, but the Frogs signed 2 of the top 3 receivers in the state of Texas. Jalen Reagor looks like the kind of guy that is going to be a first-round draft pick somewhere down the line. And Omar Manning has the kind of physical tools that you cry over with joy when he finally signs on that dotted line in February. And the sneaky guy is Kennedy Snell, who might be the fastest football player I've seen in high school. So that unit should be good. There really shouldn't be an excuse for Kenny Hill not to perform well this year, where you could say there were a lot of other factors a year ago as to why he didn't have a great season. A lot of those issues have been addressed. And if he doesn't perform well this year, it's hard to say it's for any other reason than he didn't get the job done.
Hey, Melissa, as I do these across the country, it's a pretty obvious storyline when it comes to backup quarterback in college football. Very, very, very few like on one hand, can you say, oh, that team, we know what they have at backup quarterback, because there's a reason these kids are only around 3 to 4 years in the program. And obviously the starter is playing and the backup is not playing. And therefore the backups are across the board inexperienced.
Well, the backup situation, and first, let's be clear. I don't think we're going into this season or this spring as Kenny Hill is the guy. I think it's going to be an open competition from day one, and he's going to have to re-earn his spot, much like he did over Foster Sawyer a year ago. The biggest difference is Foster Sawyer is gone. He moved on. He transferred to SFA, which is a great fit for him scheme-wise, and gives him a real opportunity to get back in the good graces of NFL scouts, because he looked the part of an NFL quarterback. He was just never a great fit with what TCU was trying to do on offense. So without Foster, the only guy who's ever thrown a pass in a collegiate football game for TCU, not named Kenny Hill, on the roster, all of a sudden we have a little bit of a different situation. Grayson Muhlstein is a guy who's been around for, this will be his 4th year on campus. He redshirted his freshman year. He knows the playbook. He's got some pretty good wheels. Not the most accurate passer, was kind of signed as a project guy, and hasn't had a chance to even really throw a pass in a college football game. So he's an unknown. Brennan Wooten is a guy who signed he was an early enrollee a year ago. Looks like he has some really nice tools. Not the biggest guy, but moves around well, really, really accurate, and has a pretty good arm. And then the other guy that's been on campus is Jordan Kitna, who may sound familiar to fans of professional football. His father, John, is a well-known former NFL quarterback. Jordan has the IQ. He's got a pretty decent arm, had a really successful high school career. Wasn't a big name, was a preferred walk-on for TCU, but someone that the coaches seem very, very fond of. And so there may be, it wouldn't surprise me if he earned some snaps early. The guy that everybody's talking about among TCU is early enrollee Shawn Robinson. True freshman, signed out of DeSoto High School in Dallas, won a state championship, took his team to an undefeated season. He has it. Whenever you talk about a quarterback or player who has the it factor, Shawn Robinson has it in spades. 6'1", moves a lot like Trayvon Boykin, can get out and scramble, has a rocket for an arm, but much like Trey was coming out of high school, doesn't have the accuracy at this point in his career. The plan had been from day one when they were recruiting Shawn to redshirt him this season. And the way that everything worked out, it should have been a given that he would redshirt as a true freshman on campus. Kenny Hill didn't live up to billing, so there's quite a call among fans to see Shawn Robinson get a chance to be the starter come August. But I think this spring will go a long way in determining if he's the guy or if they stick to the original plan and keep him on the shelf while he learns to develop and gets better footwork and works on his mechanics.
And we see that more and more, where the early enrollees become a different situation in college football than it was years ago, when you basically almost never had somebody show up early. And now every team has 5 to 10 guys show up early. And obviously that's very important at the quarterback position in particular. So he has a shot, and they're going to have a good feel going into August, whether he's going to be able to make that push for the starting job, or he really needs to learn the offense and grow and develop and give him some time.
Well, he could absolutely take the path of Jalen Hurts. The TCU defense has not been what we expect of a Gary Patterson defense for the last couple of years. And I'm not saying they're going to be Alabama good next year, but this is a team that only graduated 8 seniors. So everybody's pretty much coming back, except among the defensive line. They're really not having to replace a whole lot. So I think it'll be interesting to see, does Patterson say, let's put the kid who can make some plays out there, let's give him a shot, throw him to the fire with a really veteran group around him? Or do you wait when you're going to have a younger team in 2018, because we do have a large senior class this year, and see if you can let him kind of grow up with those guys? The Frogs can win games on defense in 2017. I really believe that, if they just protect the ball and don't turn it over. So I think if they decide to go with a run-heavy offense, then you're probably going to see Kenny Hill be the guy. But if they feel like they need more of a playmaker and somebody they can build on to score some points, I think Shawn Robinson may get a chance.
All right, 5 losses in the Big 12, 7 losses overall after losing the Liberty Bowl to Georgia. Not what TCU is accustomed to under Gary Patterson and being a contender in the Big 12 over the last several seasons. Quarterback's going to play a lot into that. Melissa Treebwasser from Frogs of War joining us. It's good to see you, Melissa.
Good to be back.